Today is Monday, March 29th. What to know about the high-profile trial starting today. A jury is set to decide whether Derek Chauvin murdered George Floyd, and the surrounding city is getting ready. Also, a little progress, but a growing traffic jam on one of the world's most critical shipping routes. How it's impacting global trade almost a week after it all started. Plus, what's being called the most important union vote in decades. New York's first-of-its-kind tech letting people prove they've been vaccinated. And what genre is about to get a lot bigger on Netflix. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Once again, Americans are cleaning up from severe weather. Near record levels of rain caused deadly flash flooding in the Nashville, Tennessee area. Rivers shot up to their highest level in more than a decade. 4 people died in Nashville, and rescue teams had to pull more than 130 others from their homes or vehicles. People were seen clinging to trees or taking refuge in their attics to avoid rising water. Other homes were struck by lightning. Now, first responders are working with the Red Cross to help people find shelter, get medical care, and more. And by the way, Nashville is not the only place cleaning up storm damage. The National Weather Service got more than 250 reports of severe weather on Saturday from Texas to North Carolina. And that includes 16 reports of tornadoes. Some in-person Palm Sunday church services were canceled, and NASCAR postponed a race at Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee. It's supposed to happen today instead. Today, both sides will start to lay out their arguments in Derek Chauvin's murder trial. As you know, he's the former police officer charged with killing George Floyd in Minneapolis. It's been 10 months since Floyd died in police custody. Video, seen around the world now, appears to show Officer Chauvin kneeling on Floyd's neck for several minutes as Floyd pleaded with officers and said he couldn't breathe. Prosecutors are expected to argue it was a murder captured on video. But Chauvin's lawyers will likely argue it actually was not Chauvin's knee that killed Floyd. Instead, they're expected to point to drugs Floyd took and his underlying health conditions like high blood pressure and heart disease. Dozens of witnesses are expected to testify in this trial as well. They include the teenager who recorded the video of Floyd's arrest, other Minneapolis police officers, medical experts, and more. As this trial begins, security in Minneapolis is tight. The courthouse is surrounded by fencing and concrete barriers, and nearby businesses are boarded up just in case things turn violent. Protests have been peaceful for many months now, though. More than a dozen organizations held a rally yesterday. There was also a prayer service and a vigil, and no violence was reported. Still, some are reminded of what happened over the summer right after Floyd died, when some protests did get violent. Hundreds of Minneapolis businesses were looted, and a police station was set on fire. So that's why the city and many businesses are being extra cautious during this trial. There are more protests planned in the weeks ahead, or however long the court proceedings might last. And in case you missed it, we spoke with an attorney and a social psychologist about what to expect from this trial. So you can hear those interviews in our special edition Saturday episode right after this one. Military leaders from 12 countries, including the United States, are condemning Myanmar's military and security forces. They put out a rare joint statement over the weekend on what the United Nations called the deadliest day of protest since last month's coup. Reports say police and soldiers killed more than 100 people, including several children, and dozens more were hurt. It was all in response to more mass protests that have been going on for weeks, ever since the military overthrew the country's elected government. Even before the widespread killings over the weekend, military-run television in Myanmar had warned protesters. It said they'd be shot if they opposed military rule. Many of those who died were protesters, but others were bystanders. And it didn't end there. The AP reports security forces attacked more protesters the next day. They also opened fire on a funeral. And they carried out airstrikes, causing thousands of people in Myanmar to leave home and travel to nearby Thailand for safety. The U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff united with their counterparts from the UK, Japan, South Korea, Canada, and more in demanding the violence end. It's now day 7, and that massive ship is still stuck in the Suez Canal, blocking one of the world's largest trade routes. Remember, high winds knocked the container ship off course last Tuesday, so it got stuck. And ever since, authorities have been working to free it. They've removed tons of sand and mud from the side of the ship's bow. So far, nothing has worked. It's not an easy task, as the ship is almost as long as the Empire State Building is tall. Workers did make a little progress today. They say they partially refloated the ship, and they're hoping to get it moving again soon. If not, they might have to start removing cargo from the ship, which could take days. In the meantime, hundreds of ships are stuck on either side of the blockage, just waiting to pass. And shipping executives say this could impact port traffic for weeks. Some analysts estimate the blockage could lower global trade by as much as $10 billion a week. One analyst even told the New York Times, quote, "Everything is impacted. Name any brand and they will be stuck on one of those vessels." So some companies are now redirecting their ships all the way around Africa. Others are looking into air freight. Of course, once all of this is over, authorities have promised an investigation, hoping to prevent this from happening again. All right, we have much more news still ahead, but first, thanks to our new sponsor, Stamps.com. Let's be real, going to the post office is not really how many of us want to spend our time. I know I've taken way too long to mail something out just because I felt I never had the time or energy to go wait in line at the post office. Well, good news, we don't have to do that anymore. Instead, join me in conveniently mailing and shipping anytime, anywhere, right from your home computer, thanks to Stamps.com. Send letters, ship packages. Once your mail is ready, you simply schedule a pickup or drop off. It's super simple. And you can actually get discounted rates from both USPS, UPS, and more. We're talking up to 40% off post office rates and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. And there's no risk. With our promo code Newsworthy, you get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Newsworthy. That's Stamps.com with the promo code Newsworthy. Stamps.com, never go to the post office again. Okay, now back to the news. It's the first U.S. state to launch a sort of COVID-19 vaccine passport, as in a digital pass that can be used as proof you've been vaccinated against COVID-19 or gotten a recent negative test. It's not actually called a passport, though. The state of New York launched what it calls the Excelsior Pass. And starting this week, Madison Square Garden in New York City plans to use it, with other smaller event venues and businesses expected to start using this tech soon. New York has partnered with IBM for this, and the governor's office describes it like an airline boarding pass. So people can either store it and show their pass on their smartphone or print out the pass. Then venues or businesses can scan the QR code to see a green check or a red X. It's all paid for by the state and is free for individuals and businesses there to use. Supporters say this is just another tool to help safely get the economy going again and to save local businesses. State officials are also stressing it's all voluntary, private, and secure for everyone involved. The tech is built on blockchain technology, so neither IBM nor any of the businesses will be able to see any additional medical info. Still, critics argue people should not have to share any type of health data just to go to certain events or businesses. Either way, expect to hear more about these types of passes or certifications in the months ahead. And not just from states. Some cruise lines, sports teams, and other companies have said they may also require proof of vaccination before opening their doors once again. Ballots are due today in a vote that could have a big lasting impact. But we're not talking about a government election here. Instead, several thousand Amazon warehouse workers in Bessemer, Alabama are deciding whether to unionize. If these warehouse workers vote yes, they would become the first Amazon employees to do this. And keep in mind, we're talking about the nation's second largest private employer and one of the most valuable companies in the country, all led by the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos. In fact, experts told Business Insider this may be the most important union vote in decades. If the union wins, it could provide a roadmap to unionizing for hundreds of thousands of other workers at Amazon and beyond. Of course, labor unions are meant to allow workers to come together to make decisions and demand certain changes, like better working conditions and pay. But Amazon has been fighting against the union. The Verge reports the company has sent workers multiple texts a day urging them to vote no, and using other marketing methods like Facebook ads that remind people about having to pay the union in order to be a member. An Amazon spokesperson says the company just wants to make sure the employees know the facts about joining a union. We'll see what happens. Ballots are due today, and then the vote count is set to start tomorrow. Stay tuned. Tributes are pouring in for a beloved children's author who died last week. Beverly Cleary, who is best known for her books about Ramona and Beezus Quimby, died at 104 years old. Overall, she wrote more than 40 books that sold more than 85 million copies. And all weekend, people have been sharing their stories about the connection they felt to Cleary and her work. For example, First Lady Jill Biden, who was a longtime teacher, wrote on Twitter, quote, "Millions of girls saw themselves in Ramona Quimby." Actress Viola Davis wrote, "You made my childhood fun." And fellow children's author Judy Blume called Cleary, quote, "my inspiration." Netflix plans to launch nearly double the number of new anime series and movies this year compared to 2020, and that means releasing about 40 new titles. If you're not familiar, anime is the Japanese word for cartoon or animation, and it's used outside Japan to describe animations produced within Japan with a Japanese style. Already, Bloomberg reports some of Netflix's anime series, like Blood of Zeus, have become some of the most popular titles in dozens of countries. And because the world's largest paid streaming service has done so well here in the U.S., Netflix is now looking to appeal to even more viewers in Asia. And that's it for your main news today, but now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, this episode is brought to you by Noom. Ever gotten questionable food advice or feel lost with so many different opinions about health and habits? Well, Noom believes it's not about what you just ate, but about how you eat in general. In fact, Noom uses psychology and education to help you stick with it in the long term. Or in other words, Noom wants to make sure you understand your own eating, cravings, and most importantly, how to build new habits so you can ditch misconceptions and get smart about your choices. With Noom, there's no so-called bad food, and it doesn't mean an unrealistic, rigorous plan or unforgiving lifestyle. In fact, Noom knows you're busy and doesn't expect to dominate your life. It expects just 10 minutes a day of your time. Perhaps that's why more than 80% of Noomers finish the program, and more than 60% have stuck with their goals for at least 1 year. Ready to learn how to live healthier? Sign up for Noom today at noom.com/newsworthy. Sign up for your trial today at Noom, noom.com/newsworthy. Get your trial at noom.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Money Monday. Businesses across the U.S. are offering free stuff to people who have gotten their COVID-19 shots. For example, a Midwest bar chain called Up Down is offering $5 in free arcade tokens to guests with a vaccination card. In Cleveland, certain cinemas are giving out free popcorn to vaccinated moviegoers. In Michigan, there's a medical marijuana dispensary giving any vaccinated person over 21 a free pre-rolled joint. And all over the country, Krispy Kreme says for the rest of the year, it will give one glazed donut a day to anyone with proof they were vaccinated. It's not clear if any of these deals will actually inspire more people to get a vaccine, though. In fact, behavioral motivation experts told the New York Times offering incentives is not really the most effective nor cost-efficient way to boost vaccinations. Instead, they say text messages reminding people to get the shots could go a long way. Either way, the promos keep piling up. And for places that don't have vaccine passports, like the tech we mentioned launching in New York, businesses will rely on seeing those paper vaccine cards that are handed out as proof you got your shot. And for that, Office Depot and Staples have a deal of their own. They say, at least for now, they'll laminate your card for free. The CDC also suggests taking a picture of your vaccination card as a backup copy. All right, thank you so much for listening today and making the newsworthy part of your daily routine. We'll be back with much more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.